Morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. This is Matthew 24. This is BibleHub.com. Matthew 24, and we're starting in verse 15 here, the abomination of desolation. I want to speak about the Ark of the Covenant and people who are looking for the Ark of the Covenant and rabbis who believe that they know where it is. There's stories that the rabbis, the Jewish rabbis, know exactly where the Ark of the Covenant is, and they're waiting for the right time to bring it out. And why is that significant? Well, the Ark of the Covenant, many believe, is going to come out when the temple sacrifices, when the third temple is rebuilt. And how do we know that the third temple is going to be rebuilt? Well, there's an abomination of desolation that occurs in the future, and it's referenced in several passages in Daniel, and this is one in Matthew where it's referenced. And Matthew actually refers back to Daniel here. In verse 15, when you therefore see the abomination of desolation, am I recording? Yes, I am. Spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Let him that which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight may not be not in winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this day, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days be shortened, there should be no flesh saved on earth. So if God didn't supernaturally shorten those days, no flesh would be saved on the planet. But for the elect's sake, for those Christians, so for those who accepted Jesus Christ as Savior, those days are going to be shortened out of mercy for them. Then if any man shall come unto you, say, Lo, here is a Christ, or there, believe it not, for there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, should deceive the very elect. It goes on. Let's see here. It goes on to speak about the tribulation of those days and the sun and the moon being darkened, and the general tribulation, and the lesson of the fig tree, etc. And so we know in Daniel, of course, the abomination of desolation, which is specifically referred to in Daniel, where the Antichrist stands in the holy place, sits on the throne, and desecrates it there, basically, in verse 15. That's what it's speaking of. We get to our story here. This is the New American, and this is apparently about a copper scroll project in search of the Ark of the Covenant. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to give you the link, but just a few excerpts here. Readers of the Old Testament are familiar with the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred golden chest carried by the Israelites during the wanderings in the desert, and finally placed in the temple built by King Solomon. In 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Spielberg and Lucas introduced the Hollywood version of the Ark to a much more global audience. The movie ends with the Ark disappearing in a large crate, along with thousands of others in a huge military government warehouse. The Ark did indeed disappear, but not following World War II as Hollywood portrayed, and not in a top-secret warehouse. There is much dispute among scholars and researchers about when and by whom it was removed from the temple. Some believe it was taken to Babylon following the Jewish-Babylonian War, which culminated in 586 BC when Nebuchadnezzar II plundered and destroyed Jerusalem, slaying most of the Israelis. Others hold that the Ark is in Axum, and this is one that is very intriguing to me. If you watch the documentaries about Axum, Ethiopia, there is a little temple there, church, and apparently it's buried underground. It goes on, or that it is buried in a tunnel under the Temple Mount. I've heard that one as well. Or that it is in the cave beneath Golgotha, the hill which Jesus Christ was crucified. That's where, what's his name? I forget the name of the guy who believes that. But again, that's a very intriguing story in and of itself, being buried and underneath that. If you search for it, the name escapes me right now. But anyways, the hill on which Jesus was crucified. At any rate, it has been missing for well over 2 millennia, 2,000 years, and its location is known only by God. Now, maybe it's in a million pieces. Maybe it's dust. Maybe it's been broken up and ground into the dust. We don't know, but many still believe that it's going to show up in the third temple. Jim Barfield believes it's in Qumran, the area of the Judean desert where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found in 1952. A fragile scroll made of copper was discovered in a cave above the Dead Sea at Qumran. This copper scroll is materially unique in that it was written on thin, hammered copper rather than the less durable papyrus or parchment, which was the materials used for the other scrolls. Jim Barfield believes that he has found an enigmatic copper scroll, the key to the location of the cave where the Ark of the Covenant is hidden, along with the tabernacle in the wilderness and the altar of incense. The copper scroll, he believes, also shows locations of 56 additional sites where hordes of treasures are buried, including tons of temple items made of gold and silver from the Temple of Solomon. Very intriguing indeed. He says that the ancient book of Maccabees speaks of this. The clues provided in the copper scroll are reinforced by ancient account of the prophet Jeremiah in the second book of Maccabees, and this is one of the books that I'd like to get into and do and kind of read through on the channel because I think it would be interesting. And it recounts that Jeremiah removed the temple treasures from Jerusalem before the city fell to Nebuchadnezzar. The account in 2nd Maccabees reads, "You shall also find it set down in the depositions made by the prophet Jeremiah, that he bade the exiles rescue the sacred fire in the manner aforesaid. Strict charge he gave them, the Lord's commandments, that they should keep ever in mind, nor let false gods, all gold and silver in fine array, steal away their hearts, with much else to confine them in their regard for the law." And here, in the same document, the story was told how a divine oracle came to Jeremiah, and he must needs go out with the tabernacle and ark to bear him company to the very mountain Moses climbed long ago, when he had sight of God's domain, a cave Jeremiah found there, in which he set down the tabernacle and the ark and incense altar, and stopped up the entrance, so closed it up behind him. There were some that followed. No time was lost in coming up to mark the spot, but find it they could not. He, when they told him of it, rebuked their eagerness. "Nay," said he, "the place must remain unknown." It goes on. So, utilizing the copper scroll, the book of Maccabees, and other ancient sources, Barfield has created a map of Qumran, depicting where he believes 57 treasure sites are. It'd be incredible if he finds even one of these, I think. With the help of a member of the Israeli Knesset, he and his team were allowed to conduct a survey of 4 of the sites utilizing advanced scanning detectors that allowed them to see 50 feet below the surface. According to Barfield, the detector showed massive amounts of non-ferrous metal objects in precisely those locations. So non-magnetic, like gold, for example. This, he says, is an exciting confirmation to him that they are on the right track. He is confident that the objects depicted by the detector are indeed the much sought-after temple treasures. Most exciting, he says, were the detector readings from the cave location where he believes the greatest treasures, including the Ark of the Covenant, are hidden. That's where the detector gave off the biggest readings of non-ferrous metals, indicating to him that they had found the Ark and other important gold and silver temple objects. Barfield has been to Israel 15 times in the past 11 years in efforts to advance the Copper Scrolls project, which he says is to help the nation of Israel recover items of the Copper Scroll. So, if the rabbis don't know where it is, this could be significant. And I do believe that the third temple will be set up and that they will pull this thing out. I think it will be incredible for the world to see and really confirm the Bible as well. In addition to the Palestinians, there are also influential Israeli leaders who are opposed to the project. Some are opposed to it because they fear the discovery of this sort would lead to an increased Arab-Israeli tensions and increase in attacks. It would be world-changing if the Ark of the Covenant comes out. So it goes on a little bit. You can read it, but it's interesting. The Copper Scroll project, you can read about that. I'll put the link in the description because the Ark of the Covenant coming out any time now would be very, very significant as it relates to the rebuilding of the third temple. Now, the rabbis themselves, they do believe that they know where it is. This article is from the telegraph.co.uk. In Jerusalem, rabbis are designing a new high-tech temple. There's only one problem. They want to build it on the holiest place in the city for Muslims. But of course, let's see here. Rabbi Chaim Richmond shows me in a darkened room, strokes his beard, and pulls out his smartphone. He has a specifically designed app that works with lights. The room illuminates. He taps the screen, and a heavy curtain slides open. There, resplendent in brilliant gold and rather smaller than I expected, lies the Ark of the Covenant. This isn't the real Lost Ark, he says. The real one is hidden about a kilometer from here in underground chambers created by during the time of Solomon. And there's massive quarries underneath the Temple Mount there, which is interesting. I look at him askance. It's true, he says. Jews have an unbroken chain of recorded information passed down from generation to generation, which indicates the exact location of the Ark of the Covenant, according to him anyways. There is a big fascination with finding the lost ark, but nobody asked a Jew. No one has sat down and said, "Hey Jews, hey rabbis, where is this thing?" We have known where it is for thousands of years. It could be reached if we excavated the Temple Mount. Interestingly, all the political trouble around there has basically limited any sort of excavation because the Muslims would start a holy war effectively if the Jews started doing that. But I think there will come a time when they will get permission or something. They will be able to do this, and they'll bring out this ark. So this is another side of it. It could be reached if we excavated the Temple Mount, but the area is controlled by Muslims. And now they took over that. They took control of that in 1967, but they quickly gave it back to Jordan, the ownership of it back to Jordan. I think God, the invisible hand of God did that because the timing wasn't right there for them to build the temple, for them to recover the Ark of the Covenant. When the Temple Institute exhibition in the heart of the Old City, Jerusalem, welcome to the Temple Institute in the heart of the Old City of Jerusalem, a plush, high-tech gallery spanning 600 feet. And, of course, the Temple Institute is responsible for creating all the implements which will be used in the Third Temple. Every artifact on display has been painstakingly created in accordance with biblical instructions and is intended for actual service in the Third Temple, which will be built as soon as possible. And like I say, with this is the understanding that the Ark of the Covenant will come out of hiding wherever it is, whether related to the Copper Scroll Project and where he thinks it's hidden, Barfield thinks it's hidden, or maybe the rabbis do know exactly where it is, and they just got to dig in the right place for it. So interesting things as it relates to the Ark of the Covenant, and more information as to its whereabouts are coming out in these last days. So I'll leave it there. I'll put the description or the links in the description. Thanks for watching, guys. We are in these last days. The Third Temple, I believe, is going to be rebuilt. Now, it's not. The Jews need to find Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. The Messiah already came. They don't need a temple. But I believe in the last days they will rebuild it. The Bible speaks of it. And I think this Ark of the Covenant coming out will be, wow, that will be an amazing eye-opener. That will be very fascinating to see that if we are still around at that point in time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.